Welcome back to the Take a Step podcast, where we help young men reject complacency and take purposeful action every day. My name is Josh Johnston, and today I am joined by my buddy David Samaha, otherwise known as Diesel David. Diesel, thanks for jumping on the show.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I'd love to just kind of turn it over to you real quick, just to introduce yourself however you see fit. I know a little bit about, just kind of really you over the last year, maybe 2 years, but I'd love to just kind of hear how you would introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah. So I am Diesel David. I have an automotive repair shop here in Woodstock, Georgia. I started out of the backseat of my 1990 Toyota Corolla, and that was before I was even a business. I was living at home with my parents. I was handing out business cards. My original business card was in the image of the, when you like go to camp or you go to any like type of event and have like, "Hi, my name is."
Yeah.
It was like, that was the format for my first business card. It was one-sided. It was printed on printer paper. It was not ordered from Vistaprint or any type of agency. And I cut it by hand with scissors. And I went around and I gave those little pieces of paper out, and people would call me, and I had that go on for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was able to help someone in traffic who had a diesel truck, and they were absolutely bewildered that I knew how to work on diesels. And to me, it's like unconscious competence, right? Like the Dunning-Kruger effect, you don't know how much that you know. So I just thought that it was totally normal that every mechanic knows about diesels. He's like, no, like no mechanics know about diesels. Like, you're my new mechanic. And he's like, and it just so happens that I'm a former business attorney, and I can set you up with your own entity.
That truck driver was?
Yeah. So,
no way.
Yeah, I mean, it was so we say truck driver. It wasn't like 18-wheeler diesels. Okay. We do like diesels like you would pull a camper with.
Okay.
You'd pull a boat or a trailer. So that's going to be our primary audience is, individuals and businesses that use a light duty like an F-350 or a Dodge 3500.
Got it.
Those are going to be the type of trucks. So he had his diesel truck that he towed his camper with up to Alaska, and he's a former attorney. So
that's crazy.
Walked me through. He on that day he coined the term Diesel David, and that was where it was all born.
From day one.
I used to remember the exact date that it was. I mean, just the major mentor of mine, and that's what started Diesel David Inc. And the industry that had always made his family money was real estate. So his whole thing was like, "Hey, you need to stop paying rent." I was like, I pay like $300 a month. Like, I live with my parents. He's like, doesn't matter, because like right now you're limited by where you live. So when you think about how this person instructed me, he gave me very clear directives. I was like 21, 22 years old, very impressionable. Mm-hmm. And he told me, "Hey, this is why, this is what, now go do it." And it was constant, take this step, then report back to me. Hey, take this step, then report back to me. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for this individual.
Yeah.
And, I thought I didn't have to, get away from $300 a month of rent. But he knew that I was going to be working on more than 3 vehicles a week. Mm-hmm. So I needed a place to be able to do that. And the idea of like paying all this money in taxes so that way you could have reportable income to then be able to go get a housing loan. Like, that was a concept that I see bite so many business owners and self-employed individuals. They don't realize that they need to be reporting more of their income.
Yeah.
Right? They're expensing too much of it out. They're not, because you can take an expense as a business expense, or you can take it as a personal expense. Mm-hmm. If you take it as a business expense, that's not income that you can purchase with.
Yeah.
But if you take that as a personal expense, that goes into your AGI, your adjusted gross income. Mm-hmm. That is, now you can quantify for a loan based on that. One, you're not paying taxes on. The other one, you're paying 20 to 35% taxes on, right? So it's like, it was costly, and I didn't want to do that, but he cast the vision. And I know we're just getting into like who I am, but this was, a very foundational
Well, this is
time.
like everything that was going through your head, going from just like, hey, I'm this 16-year-old kid that's going to work on a truck, and be like, God, there's so many intricacies.
Yeah.
If I actually want to go out and do this.
Yeah, when I was 16, I actually did the dual enrollment program at my high school.
Okay.
And they hadn't partnered with a local like technical college yet.
Where was
that? At Kell High School, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So right down the road.
Yeah.
And they had not had a dual enrollment program prior to me going to the college and being like, hey, I know that this is a thing. Again, like my parents were like, hey, this is a thing, you should look into it. And instead of being like, no, it's not a thing, it was like, well, how do I find out whether it is a thing or not? It's like, we'll go talk to the college. And they're like, oh yeah, we just need your guidance counselor's information. We can set it up with her. So then I just connected the two people. And I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I remember at the time feeling like I was like telling these grown-ups how to do their job.
Yeah.
But it was like such a fun thing, just connecting the dots. And they were really helpful. I mean, they set up the program. And I was able to start taking college classes at 16 years old. And that led me into meet one of my first bosses was an instructor there, and he had a couple automotive shops.
Yeah.
So I went to go work for him full time. And then after he and I parted ways, that's when I was doing stuff out of the backseat of my Corolla. And I met that next individual. So it's like each part of the journey, there really was a mentor that helped guide me.
Yeah, no, the concept of the mentor is great, but even just like your ability to see something and just kind of figure it out, like you kind of connected the dots, put your counselor in touch with the right people. It's like what a picture perfect life of like a young entrepreneur. It's such a, because it's the same thing like building a business. Like there's no blueprint. Like everything is, hey, you're going to do one thing like the guy told you. You're going to take that step and then report back. Take that step and then report back, which is like one of the concepts I talk about all the time, which I've mentioned with you is like, I'm a firm believer that we find clarity through our actions, not through just thinking.
Yep.
Like you can sit back and wait for the perfect plan to hit you while someone else is actually doing something. And then in that doing, they're actually clarifying, hey, based on that, what do I need to do next? And now they can pivot and continue connecting the dots to move forward while someone else is just kind of sitting back trying to devise the perfect plan. How much, when you first started, like, did you already have, like, were you already doing mobile work when you helped that guy on the side of the road, or was that just something you did as a favor?
I had been doing it for about 2 years.
Okay.
Right, like a year and a half, 2 years leading up to that time.
Yeah.
I was doing mobile work. I'd occasionally bring a vehicle to my parents' house and I'd work on it there.
Hey guys, we'll jump right back into the conversation, but I want to give y'all a quick look into MMP Customs. They make all of the Take a Step apparel, and they are the official sponsor of the Take a Step podcast. Check them out.
Hey guys, I'm Nathan Mooney, co-owner of MMP Customs. We are a custom merchandise company specializing in screen printing and embroidery. If you're a business, band, school, or any other type of organization that needs custom merchandise, MMP Customs is the place. Whether you have a big apparel need for an event or need to outfit your company, we offer a no minimum guarantee and have never missed an approved deadline. At MMP Customs, you will experience the best customer service there is. Let our family outfit yours. Visit mmpcustoms.com. That's mmpcustoms.com.
Really, it was a conversation. I gave him a ride home, and that was where we really connected. And then I went back over to his house after dinner to help him, do the work on his truck. He was almost already done with it by the time I got there. Like, he wasn't waiting around for some kid that may or may not show up. But I don't remember overthinking it. Like, oh, I didn't do this. It was just like, hey, yeah, I'll come back by and I'll help you put it on. And again, at that time, like, I wasn't even thinking about, like, it's going to cost this much, or it wasn't even like a sale involved.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, this is what's going to happen. And, automotive isn't really easy one to like use for this example because it's such a high value skill.
Yeah.
That as like a 21-year-old individual, if you're going to fix someone's fuel pump, like any shop's going to charge $800 or $900 for that.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even going to charge him more than like $200.
Yeah, you don't need all the margins. You don't need all the markup. You don't need all that. Yeah.
Like I didn't have insurance. I didn't have an LLC. Like I had absolutely no overhead.
Yeah.
My health insurance was still covered under my parents. Like, so it's like my view around money wasn't, I knew it didn't need. I knew like what I would charge and kind of what the marketplace would bear.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my conversations weren't even focused around price. It was like, hey, do you want this done or not?
Yeah.
And sometimes people would say like, yeah, you know, how much is it going to be? But it was an easy yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, so from that yes, did you know, like, was this the clear path for you, or are you still kind of second guessing what my future is going to look like?
The hardest thing, right? Fear is the enemy.
Yeah, for sure.
So the biggest fear at that point was having to, like, in going legit, was like the cost of insurance, right? Because now I'm committing myself to a policy. I'm going from $300 a month in overhead to $500 a month, right? I was almost doubling it.
Yeah.
By just getting insurance, so that way, like, if a tire came off or if a car caught fire, that like that family and me would be protected. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that, so it's like people have to think about that when people are going with mobile mechanics these days, like on Cherokee Connect or on your local neighborhood Facebook page. Most of those guys don't have insurance.
Yeah.
And like you ask them for a copy of it, they won't be able to provide it. And you might get a 50% savings, but you could cost yourself everything. Like that work could burn your house down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that work could cause whatever. And your homeowner's insurance, like, they could say, no, we're not. Like, should they cover it? I don't know. I'm not an insurance agent. I think that they should.
Yeah.
But if they realize that there's another person to blame, they're going to want to go after that person. So that way it's not their money.
Yeah.
And that could be just really messy.
So that was the biggest barrier for you as far as just getting all of that set up?
Going legit was really intimidating because it meant commitment. It meant, you know, I would have to do this. I could no longer do it for what seemed like passion and for fun. It was like, oh, I really need to actually, you know, cover my obligations.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah. So how old were you when you finally went legit?
Right. I mean, it happened within like 3 months of that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Which
like,
you were 16?
No, I was 22. I was like 21, 22 at that time.
Okay.
So when I was 16, that's when I went into
That's when you
enrollment.
first started and were like handing out all the one-sided business cards.
No, that was at 21. I was 21 years old, just giving out pieces of paper that were literally hand cut,
hilarious.
like scissor cut, thin, like it would literally just like a sheet of paper that would come out of the printer, like El Cheapo business cards.
Yeah.
I just didn't know any better. Like I did not think about. I was so cheap. I was like, what, you know, $80 on business cards. Like I can do this for $8. Like.
So what do you say? There's so many ways I want to ask this question. So what do you say to guys out there that are planning out their start or their launch or whatever and are trying to like refine, making sure their brand colors are perfect and they have all the right messaging and they have all the right, everything is perfect before they launch? What would you say to someone who's in that stage right now?
I would ask, is your planning proportionate to your risk?
Explain.
So, like, starting a business is risky, right? Running a business is arguably more risky. We'll just say that's also risky, right? So you have a fixed downside in starting a business. At any point you can say, nope, don't want to keep doing this. And you will only lose as much money as you have spent up until that time. Mm-hmm. So while it has asymmetric upside, meaning at any point when you get that first sale, you could get a second sale, you could get a third sale, you could get a fourth sale. So you're only ever going to lose a fixed amount. So if you have, in time or money, $100 tied up in branding material and business cards, then and you decide, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, you only lose $100. But by getting your product or your service to market, your upside is infinite.
Yeah.
So I know it seems like I might not be answering your question.
No, I'm actually, go ahead.
But if the extent that you are delaying needs to be proportionate to the risk. So if you're about to take a loan out for $150,000 and your house is going to be used as collateral, that requires the thought, right? That requires market surveys. That requires, all this information and data to know that what you are doing is going to create a return on your investment.
Yep.
If you're starting a business and it's being done with income from your full-time job or your part-time job or an investment, like that's not enough risk to stall.
Yeah.
So it is in your best interest to be working as fast as you can to get sales. Because if you don't know, like if people won't buy your stuff, then you need to have different stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You need to have a different way to like, if your stuff sucks, if your product sucks, if your service sucks, you need to change that, not your branding.
Yeah. And the only way you find that out is quit the planning and go try to execute.
Is to just do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the thing. It's like when I realized that I didn't have very much risk at all, I just made imperfect business cards.
Yeah.
And that created a ton of business for me.
Yeah.
So
it was the same thing for me literally when I started the podcast. Like I've told this plenty of times, but bought a $20 Amazon mic, figured out how to record into GarageBand, bought a podcast hosting software, and just read off a script and tried to, I was just like, in order for me to actually get good at it or figure out if it even has legs, like I've got to just start doing it, and I'll pivot over time. And if the audience tells me by lack of viewership that it's not something that they want, then I can figure out what different to do. But I'm not going to figure that out by, waiting until I save up $250 to get the best mic and get the best editing software and work with the best team. So like you have to clarify.
It's very hard to clarify what needs effort and what doesn't need effort.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good point.
Because the lie is, if I don't get this right, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that lie is ascribed to each step of the way. And in business, there's way too many steps to be able to hold on to that unbelief.
Yeah.
Right. You have to believe that this is something that is going to work, right? Like I am going to be successful, right? When you believe that you're going to be successful, you then do things that align with that will create success.
Yeah.
When you believe that, hey, every step matters, you spend way too much time on the step, and the step never happens. You never get to the second step. So the lens that really helped me was realizing that my downside was so small, and the upside of actually fixing cars, of getting sales, of getting another customer, that's all that I focused on. And it was like, how fast can I do more of this? It was not what I needed to do well was the actual fixing of the car. How I got to that point mattered way less than anything else.
Yeah.
So like with you, what matters is a quality podcast in terms of content, in terms of consistency.
Yeah.
The rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like we could be in a shed right now, and it's like, with cheap equipment, but if people can hear us, if people can relate to what's being shared, that's going to be far exceed $1 million mic and super cool water feature.
Very true.
Behind us.
Yeah, I love that conversation. So, just for context, you at that time were stressing about upping your overhead from $300 to $500.
$300 to $500.
What's your overhead per month right now?
$105,000.
Is that not insane?
It's pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
So,
I mean, tell me a little bit about what got us to this point.
Oh man, so after the overhead concern of like insurance and like being legit was then the concern of paying taxes. Like if I make more, I have to pay more. And it's like, well, that's kind of dumb. That's like being like, free radicals are killing our bodies. So the more I breathe, the more I'm killing myself. It's like, so I'm just going to not breathe or do things that make me breathe hard. It's like, no, that's not the solution. So after that, the biggest thing was like buying a house. Okay. Because what that meant to me was like lack of freedom. I thought that, hey, if I bought a house, I couldn't move to Colorado. I couldn't relocate to another state.
It's the same thing that you were saying about going legit with the business. It's like the same mindset.
Same mindset, same limiting belief, same fear.
Interesting.
Right. So that was in 2017. Now fast forward to 2019, I had the opportunity to buy a commercial building with a partnership. And that was going to be not a huge increase, but it was like the first thing that like, it was just a big purchase.
Yeah.
It was with someone else. That made me kind of nervous.
Yeah.
It was like, what if it didn't go well with this person? You know, what if we went separate ways? But it's like, okay, those are concerns. What are you going to do about it? You're going to talk to an attorney, right? So it was like, I started just like being like, identifying what was holding me back and working towards that. Like that, I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but talking about it with you now, it's like, okay, I had the fear about this partnership. So I went and I talked to people who were in successful partnerships, and they were like, hey, this is what makes it work. And I was like, well, that's kind of already exists with this person. And they're like, all right, like you're going to be good. And the simplicity of the partnership also played a big factor. We were buying a building together.
Yeah.
It wasn't a business of where, hey, what is he bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? We were both bringing finances to the table. And that made it very, very clear. There wasn't a lot to be like, this person's lazy or this person is bringing, you know, contributions that an employee could bring.
So what was he bring? Did he have another business that he was going to bring to the building?
No, he had another business that was staying his. I had my business that was staying mine. The commercial building was a duplex, so he was going to occupy half. I was going to occupy half.
Okay.
And we'll actually go back through this whole timeline later on, but that was like the next big jump in overhead. And again, it was that one wasn't scary. It was the partnership was the most scary thing, because at that same time, like relationally, I had this obnoxious fear of divorce. Like if I don't get married, I can't get divorced, right? So I was like very much avoiding.
I'm noticing a consistency
healthy,
here with the limiting belief of commitment.
Right. So, you know, that was actually permeating into business, right? It was not the overhead that I was afraid of committing to. It was actually the partnership, which has proven to be extremely fruitful and very low maintenance.
Yeah.
We'll sometimes go months without talking with one another, and there's zero negativity or problems that causes. I cannot say that that's true for many partnerships.
Yeah, seriously. As Dave Ramsey would say, the only ship that sinks is a partnership.
Yeah.
Or the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's it was really cool. So the big jump, so that happened, we purchased that building in 2019 and we moved in, we occupied it from 2019 until 2021, so all through COVID. And then in 2021, that was when the jump happened. I mean, we were maybe like $10,000 a month in overhead in that building.
Okay.
And when we moved into our current building, that's when it jumped from like 10,000 to like 80,000.
Was that an upfront hit that you had forecasted revenue to cover, or did revenue jump pretty simultaneously with the overhead?
So the answer is both.
Okay.
Right. So it's a capacity thing, right? Being able to fix more trucks.
Yeah.
We were able to do with more space. So
y'all already had a capacity issue, which led to the purchase of the next. Okay.
Correct. So that was solving that and putting away the money to handle the immediate expenses with that. You've probably, I mean, this is where people talk about like it sometimes makes sense to stay small. It's not always, you don't always have to be the biggest.
Yeah.
You don't always have to grow. Like you don't need to listen to people telling you to like be more or do more. I think that the challenge wouldn't, like challenges would not have gone away if we stayed in that smaller building. They would have been different challenges. So with a bigger building is bigger potential. With bigger potential, you can recruit and retain higher quality talent. If you like operating in a safe area, right, where the overhead was low, where the building was small, we were not going to retain all of our talent.
Yeah.
Some of it would have left us. That would have created a new challenge. So the jump to the jump to the overhead that we have now is something that I think about often. Of like, that was what, within 10 years. Yeah, our 10-year anniversary is this weekend.
That's so crazy. So with the like one of the quotes that I love is talking about like a lot of people want to think that in order to be the best, you have to be the biggest. And there's a quote that I heard recently is like the best business is not always the biggest business.
Yep.
Like I think a lot of that goes back to your why. Like if your why is correlated to scaling, then sure, like continue to grow and figure out new ways to scale. If you want to be able to build a big team, impact more people internally, then sure, yeah, like growth is great. But if your why is to give you a certain lifestyle and have some flexibility, then maybe growth from revenue is not. Maybe it's serving your current customers at a much higher level.
Yep.
It depends on the business, obviously, but I think that's a really good point that a lot of people need to hear, because they're like, so many people get way too invested and like emotionally tied to the numbers, and they think like higher numbers means a more successful business. When I would argue that like is your growth serving the why you have behind why you're doing what you're doing. And I think once you have that, once you can like tie that correlation to like, what does progress look like, you can kind of get a clear picture, rather than just saying, hey, if our margins are growing, if we're limiting expenses, and if our revenue is growing every year. I mean, that's great, but like, what's the purpose in that?
Yeah.
Something that may serve it, that may not. But I think people think that's very black and white.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's extremely dynamic, and it's very gray.
Yeah. So 10 years that's at this location? Or
No,
10 years. That was
10 years
2021.
since the formation of the
Yeah.
business.
Interesting, dude. So it was just you when you started.
Yep.
Brought on the partnership, had mechanics.
First employee was in 2017.
Okay.
And then second employee was in 2019.
How many employees today?
There's fluctuates between like 12 and 15.
Okay.
Just depends on, we have some seasonal guys, like in the summer we'll have some interns, and like in the busy season we might have more mechanics.
Yeah.
So that's why it fluctuates.
So what's been the experience with taking something that you had a vision for and building a team around that vision and mission?
Man, so what stands out for me is it wasn't always, like over 10 years, for me it wasn't always my vision that was driving growth. Like part of the reason of why we moved into this larger location was the team, right? So the vision of the people that I had around me was actually brighter and more clear and louder than the vision that I had at that time. And I was pretty complacent. I was pretty lost as well. And, I think that their push for that was a really good thing. Like that was something that, reflecting on it now, you might have some viewers where they realize like, you know what, that was actually like my wife that was really pushing me through that more than I was. So I don't think vision is this thing that we will always have or always should have. I think it's something that we always will come back to. And getting to where we are now, that was a big push not from me. And now that we're here, I'm back. I'm switched on. I'm pushing really hard, and it's been enjoyable. It's been really challenging. We were talking before the show, and these are the challenges that grow your character.
Yeah.
These are the challenges that will resolve things that used to be like, they refine us. So things that used to be a problem are no longer, like, you're not the same person you were 2 years ago. How you respond to, business negotiations and even your outreach for getting guests on the podcast, right? It has grown, it has evolved, it has elevated. So having the people around me. Yeah. Right. It's like they came around me because of my vision. Right. So then even when my vision was dim, they were still there. And they were like reflecting back to me the vision that I had shared with them that I had since stopped sharing. And like that, like I was able to borrow that belief. Like they saw something in me and in the company that I wasn't seeing at that time, when I was in a pretty, like, it wasn't just like complacent, and it wasn't just like super dark. It wasn't like a depression, and it wasn't just like an ignorance. It was kind of a mix of both.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a great testimony to just like the people you surround yourself with. Like one of the big things we have going on through Take a Step is we call it the tribe.
Okay.
You know, literally a community that's focused on surrounding yourself with like-minded guys that are going to push you towards ultimately the man that you say you want to become. Because like you said, you had your vision, but sometimes if we're just operating in isolation, it's easy to veer off path because there's not somebody holding us accountable to what we say our vision is. But if I say, you know, I'm committed to doing X, Y, Z because this is what I want to be known for and this is the man I want to become, and I don't tell anyone about that, and if I don't do that, what happens?
Yeah.
I mean, the only negative thing that comes from that is the result. But we can then start to shift what the result's going to be to cope for our lack of results.
Yep.
If that makes sense. But if we have somebody that's saying, hey, this is what you committed to because this is who you know you want to become. If you have, you know, 8, 9, 10 guys that are all pouring into you, holding you accountable, helping you mold what those commitments, what those steps are going to be, then that, like, the vision becomes a lot more clear. And like on that point, Jocko Willink has a great quote. He says, he says, professionals make decisions based on commitments. Amateurs make decisions based on feelings. So the best way to stay committed to something, and to honor your commitments is to have other people that are aware of your commitments. It's a huge belief of mine.
Yeah. And I think the precursor to that is having I'm not going to go to a baker to get advice on how to fix my car. I'm going to go to a mechanic, right? I'm not going to go to a mechanic for instructions on how to fix my plumbing.
Yep.
Right. So what also helped me very early on, like with that original mentor that I had, but even some of the peers that I also had, was to help identify what I actually wanted. And I wasn't able to do that on my own. It was done alongside others.
So if I would have asked you like 10 years ago, right when you're starting the business, what would you want? Would you even know what you would have answered?
I want to fix every car in the world. You know, it's just like, it wasn't not like the grandiose way, like, you know, I want to be the best. It was like, I just wanted to fix cars.
Well, that's true. So that is what people, like when we talk about setting goals, like that's probably the most common thing I hear when we start diving into guys with their goals is they're more like mindsets than they are goals. Like, oh, I want to get in great shape. Oh, I want to get closer to God.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to build a great family. I want to love my work. Those are great ideas. Those are great mindsets to have, but those aren't specific at all. Like, how are we going to put a plan around? I want to get in good shape. What is that?
Byproduct of that.
Exactly. So the mindset comes from, again, doing the actual work up front. Then the
100%.
the mindset gets molded from that. So rather than oh, I want to get in good shape, how much more likely would you be to achieve whatever get in good shape is if you said, hey, I want to get down to 185 pounds at 15% body fat by the end of this year? Yep. That's something that we can now say, okay, now we have something that we can execute on. But if I want to get in good shape, what does that mean? Yep. Like for me, getting in good shape is probably going to be different than for you what getting in good shape looks like. For me, you know, deepening my faith and getting closer to God is going to be different than you. For me, building a family, having already, you know, been married for almost 4 years and having a daughter is going to be different than somebody who's single still looking for their wife. Yep. So like we've got to be specific, and if we're not specific with ourselves, there's no way we're going to be able to actually put a plan together, even if we have the right people around us. But the right people around us are what help us get that specificity behind those goals. Yep. Sounds like that's what you kind of had once you started building out the team.
Yeah, the team was a huge part. My friends, even before that, were a huge part. And they weren't, not all of my friends were big entrepreneurs. But I think that, you know, there becomes this archetype curve of in the beginning, if you're in a community of like, whether you are, this is a specific example for someone that is an entrepreneur and they're surrounded by people that are not entrepreneurs. And it can feel very lonely.
Oh yeah,
and
I'd say that's the case for most entrepreneurs. Is they don't have that community of other guys that have that mindset, so they feel lonely.
And yeah, in the beginning, it doesn't actually matter. This comes into the ideal of like the meaning that we ascribe to our feelings is more impactful than our feelings themselves. So if you're starting out, the problems that you're solving are not high enough level problems of where you need great entrepreneurial business minds to make a positive impact on you. You just need people that you can talk about like what you're going through. And your friends that are W-2 employees can and should be that resource for you. But if you're feeling like they're not meeting every need, you're thinking too highly of them and too low of yourself. You need to realize that, hey, you're capable of solving these problems. These people are here as a support network, as your friends. They're not here to solve all of your, entry-level business problems, like life problems, we'll call it.
Yeah.
So I think that is would have been really helpful for me to be consistently reminded of early on, is not expecting my friends to be something that they weren't.
Yeah.
And just take them as my friends and realize that, I'm actually very capable of solving these problems, these challenges. And as soon as I started doing that, then the people that were higher level entrepreneurs, they started showing up. Because when you operate at a level, you are going to attract and you are going to identify people that are on that level.
You're gonna love this. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
I heard that the other day.
So you can't expect, I cannot expect to lift 500 pounds unless I've done the work to make myself capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So if someone is struggling to make, we'll call it entry-level business choices, they're not going to be able to communicate, or they have not done the work of where they're able to identify what a person looks like that's capable of making entry-level business choices. So once you do that, then you start seeing those things, and it's as simple as we'll break it down to a business analogy, right? You hired your first person. When you see a comment on Facebook or Instagram or someone talking about hiring their first employee, how you respond to that is going to be way more empathetic, way more authentic, and way more impactful for that person, to where that is going to create a relationship. That would have never been possible if you had never hired your first person. That is the tactical outcome. That is what taking a step in, hey, I'm going to hire this person and trust that there's going to be more given to me. That's what I steward that is small, I will be given more. So that is the real example of, it's not just foo-foo, your vibe attracts your tribe. It's there's real actionable stuff in this of why it's true.
Yeah.
Just like how when you tear down your muscle fibers and they grow back, that is why you're able to lift 500 pounds. But until you do that, you will not receive that ability to lift 500 pounds. Another example would be if you are struggling to make sales and you figured out a new avenue and you're like, oh, that's not so different than, again, you're talking to someone at church and they're talking about what they're going through. Maybe it's at their company, right? Maybe they're not even an entrepreneur, and you're able to speak to that because you're like, man, I had a similar issue of where I wasn't getting the sales targets that I wanted to, and I changed up. I thought my problem was in my script, but I realized my problem was in my positioning, or my problem was in my time. I was trying to do sales calls at 9 a.m. No one's making financial decisions at 9 a.m. I switched my sales calls to after lunch, and it solved everything. And they're like, oh my gosh. And you're able to connect with that. And they're like, man, I would love to get coffee with you. I'm solving these types of things all the time. And again, that has now become almost like a board of advisors for you, because how you are operating, you have taken a step to solve a sales problem for yourself. So you recognize when someone else is speaking about sales problems, and you speak to that because you know what you're talking about. Whereas if you didn't solve that problem, you would not have spoken up. You would not have engaged in the conversation. So now you're able to actually pour into someone. You're able to pour life into someone, and you're receiving back. There's a lot of biblical context.
Yeah. What I've seen recently, and I kind of have to catch myself in it sometimes, especially with social media and how much content and information is out there, is you'll see people starting to speak up on things that they have zero like tactical insight to. You know what I mean? Like I think people are trying to be gurus and experts in fields that they may have just heard philosophical knowledge on, but they've never actually gone and done it.
Yeah.
And I think
that's most people can see those comments and they're turned off by it. Like they know, even if it's not a conscious thought, like we know the difference between when someone makes a comment, whether it's online or in person, that is uplifting, or whether it's kind of like, yeah. So that is why some people, or we'll say many people, are staying stuck. Yeah. Is because they're not speaking with authority. They're actually showing how little they know. So in the book of Matthew, in Matthew chapters really 19 through 22, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were attempting to catch Jesus, and they were trying to trick him. And by them trying to trick him, they only showed the entire community how little they actually knew. Yeah. And that's how I see those comments. And I feel like the real
That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Because like literally like what they were seen as is like experts on the law and experts on the scriptures as like the teachers in the land at the time, and they're essentially citing the law and citing scriptures to try to catch Jesus in like a catch-22. So either way he answers is they're going to be able to hold it against him. But every single time he responds with scripture. So it is written. Yep. It is written. So yeah, that's such a great point. And like almost always when these people are speaking up and they don't have any actual tactical or practical knowledge on it, like it's one thing, and that's why the comment section is ridiculous, because people can say things and not have to actually answer for them. Yep. But once you actually engage in conversation, it's weeded out real quick who actually knows what they're talking about and who's actually applied it in their lives.
I would challenge most people to think about how few of times they've engaged in conversation of where their gut was wrong. Right? Like you already know going into the conversation that person most likely is not an authority on what they're sharing. Yeah. So I think the big takeaway here is your gut is more often right than it is wrong. So if your gut is, hey, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, then you don't even need to engage them. Yeah. You can just move on, because the people that do know what they're talking about, that comes through. That is your vibe attracts your tribe. Yeah. And it's good. And it matters for if that comment is constructive to your vision, whether that's on your own post, whether that's on someone else's post. Like that is quite literally how my wife and I met, was on the comment section of a political post on Facebook.
No way.
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh.
And her comment about the OP spoke to me because I have the same ideals. So what she said to him was uplifting. And most people would not articulate an uplifting message in a general storm of a comment section. So I immediately went behind it and I acknowledged her for that. And the manner in which I acknowledged it showed her that I understood her. It wasn't anything that I was trying to do. I just did it. I just took a step.
So what was the next step? A DM or what?
So yeah, it was a DM. I asked her if we could be best friends.
Let's go.
Is how I would start like every DM at that time, like male or female, it doesn't matter. It's like if I'm vibing with someone, it's like my first thing I'm saying is like, can we be best friends? Yeah. Because it's like people don't get DMs like that, and if it's like you can't be a creeper. Like it's actually anchored to a comment or to a discussion of where you realize that like in the real world you guys will be buds. Like in the real world, like this person would have your respect. Yeah. And it works super well, and it worked on her.
How long have y'all been married now?
Since June. It's recent, man.
Fresh.
It is super fresh. It is super fresh.
Here's a great question I'd love to ask you. In those, what was that, 4 months? Mm-hmm. how has your perspective shifted when how you show up for your business? Has it shifted at all yet, or is it more of the same?
So my wife comes from a family of entrepreneurs. So
Interesting.
The respect that she has for me, if anything, I have learned the value of being understood by someone, because there will be times of where I feel like I've fallen short below my own standard, and she will remind me of the things that I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
And I try to stay conscious about not abusing that. Like, I'm realizing that, I would very much benefit from journaling, because then I'm not taking from my wife what I can actually supplement for myself. There's nothing wrong with receiving that from her, but I want to be cognizant not to make that an expectation of mine, or to create a dynamic of where I depend on her for that. So I want to be able to honor her and what she brings to the table, and being like also providing for myself and not just taking from the relationship. That's one thing that I've become more cognizant of lately. The other part is, so the duality of that is, when you work long days, you have to shut it off when you come in the house.
Yeah.
And if you're not capable of doing that, or if you're not doing that, then how it is going to feel is that they don't have any time for themselves to share. Yep. You're just gone for 12 hours. So when you come home, if you're talking about work, because like for me, I'm a verbal processor.
Yep.
So when I come home, I want to verbally process with her. And all she wants to do is share about her day. But now she's having to think about my day and not think about her stuff. And then we go to bed, and the next day she's like, I haven't connected with my husband. Then that happens 4 days, and now it's the weekend, and she would feel like I haven't been able to connect with my husband all week. It's only been about him.
Yeah.
And that has been that has been a challenge.
Yeah.
In our marriage that we've been navigating. Right?
Well, because for 10 years, you've been able to just be literally just like 100% work all the time. If you wanted to,
I would work all the time until it was time for bed, and I would get in bed and I would just pass out.
Well, I mean, if you love it, great. Like that's awesome to be able to have that for a decade. But going from like having a decade of ingraining this like operating system on this is what entrepreneurship looks like, to now completely like there's a completely new operating system to learn and to apply. I experienced that for sure, because like I spent 4 years in a corporate job, work-life balance, right?
Yep.
Like the mysterious work-life balance, the myth of work-life balance, as I would put it. But I mean, you shut your work off at 5, come home, and you don't have to think about it until you show back up at 9 o'clock. And going from that to having a little bit more autonomy, and pairing the autonomy behind actually loving what you do, that's for me, it's a beautiful thing, but it's also like the negative side to it is I don't want to turn it off. Like I want to constantly be thinking about how I'm going to continue to build and grow and serve and like all these different areas, to where it gets so hard to like, you have to, that's where discipline comes into play. And I think that's where communication comes into play. Because if I don't like communicate, if I don't have good communication with my wife on, hey, this is when it's time for family, I need her to help hold me to that. Because if she doesn't, then I don't possess the level of like self-control, I guess, to say, all right, like I'm not even going to think about work. Like my brain doesn't want to turn it off.
And I think it's like so many people have a lot of opinions on this, like a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts. And the reality is like your marriage is your marriage alone. And what matters most is what works for your marriage. So the idea of, our marriage should be this way, or, your wife shouldn't have to remind you that it's time for family. Those judgments don't serve you, her, or your marriage. The idea is that like you guys are a partnership.
Yeah.
So just as like if you went to the store and you get something off the top shelf for her, that, you know, that is like, it's not like, oh, she should, you know, get a stepladder, ask for a store. It's like, no, that's silly. No one would say that. No one would pass that judgment. So what it matters for you guys is like, hey, I am setting aside this time, right? I've worked on these things to be able to provide this because this is what matters to me, right? My time with the family.
Yeah.
If I get distracted with this, can I count on you to help, you know, bring me back?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that that's awesome for that you guys have that worked out.
Yeah, and I need it because like what I always say, and this is true for anything outside of like work and marriage, it's true for like nutrition, for anything. I think I'm somebody that has a lot of discipline but zero self-control. When I say that, like let's take nutrition for example. Like if there is peanut butter and Cheez-Its and chips and all that in the pantry, I'm gonna eat it all.
Yeah.
Like I have no self-control when it comes to that. My discipline though doesn't allow me to have it in the house. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Like I know like when we're at the store grocery shopping, I'm like, don't buy that.
Yeah.
Because I promise you I will eat it and I don't want to eat it. So like the discipline comes into play. I'm like, what are the systems that you're building out that are gonna keep you committed to what you deem to be a priority? So for me, like I know a priority for me is that time with family. Like I know it is, but in the day-to-day, my self-control lacks where like I want to be able to just like think about work and because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the discipline then is, hey, babe, I need you to hold me accountable. Like 6 to 8 every workday, every weeknight. Like that's time for you and for Emmy. Like that's our system. And yeah, like you said, like some people may be like, oh, if you really cared about them, like you wouldn't need them to hold you accountable. It's like, sure, maybe for you, that sounds great, but like,
this is my marriage and this is what works for us.
And I know who I am, and I'm going to be intentional about addressing that ahead of time rather than saying, hey, I did it again.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather be intentional up front and be honest and know who I am and know where my flaws are, know what my strengths are, and then put a plan together accordingly.
Yep.
So yeah.
That's so good, dude.
How's your faith been tested through this journey? Because I know we've talked a little bit about it, but has your faith always been a huge part of your life, or has it grown as the business and person has grown?
It has grown so much.
Okay.
So throughout this entire journey, there's been multiple instances of what I would call God nods, right? So where God's just like nodding in approval, and it's like that's marked by a physical event that happened.
Yeah.
So the first one was running into that mentor who's broken down. Like, this isn't like anytime there's something happening in the physical world that cannot be explained logically, it's most likely happening because of the spiritual world, good or bad, right? So like this individual, the conversation, like none of it, and I have to say this through the context of like at that time. And sometimes the greater ones, like even more miraculous God nods, are not going to make sense 50 years from now. But, you know, David operating at that time, I thought all mechanics need diesel trucks. I thought everybody would help someone in need. I thought all of these things, right? So for someone that I, helped, be like, oh, you're my diesel mechanic, like you're, and then to develop a relationship, like it just didn't turn into a customer.
Yeah.
That person also had a history in business law. That person also had a family business of real estate. They helped me buy my first house. Like all of these things came from that one instance that they're like, you can't explain that. Like the likelihood of helping someone that's broken down on the, like in the middle of the road, that is a business attorney, is like slim to none. And then also pair that with someone that's in real estate, understands the value of a home creating generational wealth, is even more rare. That was a God nod.
It's like these little affirmations that you feel like he's sprinkling in.
Dude, the partnership with Alex in buying the commercial building.
Yeah.
I met him at a morning, there's a local entrepreneurship group that meets on Thursdays. And I had been going to it for about 4 years. And he came and he presented there as like a community leader. And something which I now recognize as the Holy Spirit spoke to me in a form of communication called knowing, right? So, some people can see in visions, some people can, hear the voice of God, some people can, like audibly hear the voice of God, which is, another thing. And then there's like, hey, you just kind of like know. And it might be like an urge or like a confirmation. And something was telling me, the Holy Spirit was like, get closer to this person, like get lunch with them was the thought that actually came through my mind. So I, connected with him. I think we just became Facebook friends at first. I didn't get his phone number. And I had messaged him and I was like, hey, can we grab lunch sometime? We got lunch 4 times and then started buying a commercial building together. And there's more stuff in that. It's like, that's the, that is the surface level stuff. Like the stuff below that was like, he could have stroked a check to buy this building. He didn't need me. So God was working in his heart to also bring a desire to partner with me in business. So that's where it's like, oh, like you can't do this stuff yourself. You can't, like, sure, you can try, but the amount of depth, like, Holy Spirit will absolutely change your life.
Yeah.
And that was a time that, like, I was obedient to the Holy Spirit, and like so is he.
Yeah.
And there was a time like COVID, like I lost 2 of my long-standing, like, greatest employees in COVID, and then through that, like, the transformations that came in the company was stuff that, arguably, from a well-seasoned business mind from an outside looking in would be like, oh, this stuff needed to happen for years. But it created that space of where I was and all the limiting beliefs that I had at that time for that to happen. Because then at that point, like, the risk was so low. So by taking the actual step that was only possible because the loss that could have happened was no longer there, and then good came from that change, that erased that limiting belief, that was healed, right? So that's like we'll call that like a transformational redemption, where I actually didn't do anything to heal myself, right? I didn't go to therapy. I didn't, spend money on coaching. I just experienced loss, did the next logical thing that any business mind would have been like, oh, you needed to do that years ago. And by doing that logical thing, because there wasn't a risk anymore, that created all this backwards healing and all this forwards healing too, because that then restructured. One of those 2 people came back to work for me after that. So
interesting.
It was, and I could go on. There's how I met my wife was another one. We shared that story.
Yeah.
Like which there's even more crazy events since then.
Yeah.
The building that we're in now, I tried to buy a building that one of my buddies is now in, and it has been a huge, huge headache for him. But now he is thriving in that space. Like, so it's so clear to me. They're like, oh, that space was meant for him, and the building that we ended up in is definitely meant for us. So how all of that played out was such a more complicated and involved development than I could have ever done on my own.
Yeah.
So it's like these things happening and starting to like question, like, how did this actually come to be? Like, how could I, because you want to create a formula, right? Like the goal in business is to get better at it.
Yeah.
Right. The goal in making money is to make more money. So it's like, okay, this worked out really well. How do I do that again? And I kept running into these dead ends of like, I can't. And then there was another really cool thing that happened in 2021, and this was also a God thing. I had this ridiculous anxiety that we had just moved in, or like 2021, 2022. So we were just moving into our new building. We were like going through the purchase, and I was just, the overhead was going up substantially, right from 10,000 to 80,000, 85,600. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this alone. And I was struck with this thought. It was a question, actually. It was, when was the last time you could do it all by yourself? And I was like, huh.
Yeah.
And I went all the way back to like when the revenue, when the workload, when the overhead, everything was back in a place of where I could manage it myself. Like, not like impossibly manage it myself, but like comfortably manage myself. And it was like the time I came to was 2019, before we bought the commercial building. And then I was like, okay, so therefore, if this is the last time that I could have ran this business by myself, that was the last time that this business has actually been all on me. So this false belief from 2019 through 2020 through 2021 into 2022 that it's all on me, no one's coming to save me, was just shattered. And it had been like countless times. I was like, oh, this person saved me this time. This person saved me this time. This person backed me up this time. This person took care of this problem without me having to do it. And it was like, and it was so how I could speak to those individuals with like gratitude and respect and honor is what replaced resentment, bitterness.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not good enough. Like, all of that was really like, so if you're wondering like, hey, where's the God in that? It was the question.
Yeah.
Like, that only like, he is the divine physician. He didn't come for those that don't need a doctor. He came to heal the sick.
Yep.
Right? So the sickness in that moment was, it's all on me. No one's coming to save me. And with one question, when was the last time it was all like you could run this business? It was like a curious question. It wasn't an attack. And I started just thinking. And it was like, that was another thing where it's like, we're talking years of what would have been time spent in therapy was just undone in like 24 hours.
Yeah. And I think another cool part I hear through that is like, God works through people. And like him placing each one of those individuals in your life that essentially bailed you out or gave you a clear path out of where you were at that moment, I believe was God's sovereignty. And his providence in your life, and like you're talking about the little God nods, like the little affirmations that he's showing you, hey, you're doing what I want you to do. You're doing what I've placed you here to do. Proverbs 16:9 is one of my favorite verses that I hear through that, but it's the heart of a man establishes his way, or the heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So like you have this plan on where you want to go, but God is ordaining those steps. God is putting the people in your life. So it's on, like, now where does the personal responsibility come in? He's giving you the step.
Yeah. You just have to obey.
Are you going to take it?
Yep.
You know? So, yeah, I love that. What's the vision as you continue to build forward? Both, you know, obviously we've been talking a lot about business, but how does that transfer to the life that you're wanting to build?
So the vision for Diesel David Inc. is it's really specific, right?
Nice.
I want to be able to provide 100% health care for every employee, right? I want to be able to provide life insurance for every team member. I want to be able to provide monthly and annual bonuses that everyone has like control over as a team. I want to, so there's more to it than that, right? But that's just like phase one. Because when those things are true, the talent pool that you can hire from is like as good and greater than the talent pool that you currently have, right? So it's like your current talent pool is now elevating because their quality of life has just shot up. And then who you can market to bring onto your team, to partner up with. So when you talk about your vibe and your tribe, you know, as an organization, right, as a leader, you have the ability to raise the vibration of all the people in your organization. The same thing is true for every business owner. Same thing is true for your coworkers, right? Like, so their vibration is being raised, and then we're bringing to people So when I say that, like greater people than where the current team is now, but on the same level as them of where they will be. So that I think that's more clear.
Yeah.
Because it's important. I'm not trying to say that we need better people than we currently have. Like our guys are awesome. So in the company, that growth is the vision, because that's somewhere that you can be for your entire life. You don't have to worry about what other things are going on. You can realize like, hey, I've truly entered a sanctuary, right? I've entered in like an Eden. I've entered a promised land of business, and I can, instead of using my energy trying to figure out like what's going to happen to my stuff if I die, or like is my, like my wife that's pregnant gonna, like healthcare. Instead of having to worry about those problems, you can worry about the problem with the truck in front of you. You can worry about the problem that a customer is facing. Like you can be more of a service and a servant to others and to your coworkers. So that'll create company stability long term.
Yeah.
For my family, the vision is like right now it's travel. We are getting ready to have kids, and it's like we want to do travel before that, but then we also want to do travel after that.
Yeah.
So the vision is homeschooled. The vision is, being able to, hey, if we want to go and minister to others, if we want to do a mission trip, we'll take our family with us to go do that. And right, so that flexibility also allows, if we have people in the organization, now we've created something truly, incredible. And there will be people from that step up as leaders. You need to create a place for those leaders to go. So that would be additional locations. My goal of additional locations is only dependent on, at this time, is only dependent on the people in our company that want to go there. Or if for some reason it comes to where, hey, there's people outside of the company, they're like, hey, I want to come work for you. Hey, I want to come work for you. And we don't have a place for those people. Like if there's no room at the inn, like we're going to go build another inn. We're going to open up another location. So that would be my only need to scale. Like this single company can meet all of my personal financial needs just at one location. But if like, I believe that when you build something truly great, what that attracts, your vibe attracts your tribe. Like who's going to be coming and beating down the doors to come be a part of that is going to create a need for more locations. That's going to require bandwidth. That's going to require, ability to run, which use like that's the season, right? You pull back on the focus on family. That has to now develop another location. But you're only able to pull that back in a sustainable amount because of how much is actually being allocated.
Yeah.
If they're only ever getting 20% of you, that's not very much to pull back from. But if you've been able to engineer the main thing to be able to give them 60%, you can pull back 20%, and they're still getting twice as much as dad than they would have if this didn't become great.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you.
I love how so many components to that is very focused on, it's very others focused. Like when you talk about the concept of servant leadership, like in looking at the vision, it's to provide health care for my employees. It's to build leaders who can go out and then like to develop leaders to ultimately become leaders who train more leaders at their own locations. It's family. It's providing for your kids one day. It's like, so yeah, I think the concept of stewardship is something we talk a lot about with Take a Step, and it shifts the focus from internal as far as like, what do I have? How am I being great with what I have versus like, what am I doing with what God has entrusted me with the time, talent, and treasures that He has given me to manage? How am I taking that to further grow His kingdom and make this world a better place? And I love that echoes in your entire vision that you just said. So
that's so good, man.
Very cool. One question I love asking, just kind of as we come to a close, for those guys that are out there that are in that life of complacency, like we talked about earlier, that are just kind of going through the motions in their day to day. Typically what I've found is because they don't have much purpose behind their lives, because they've honestly habitually made the comfortable decision over the course of their life, which is why they're experiencing the complacency that they're currently experiencing. For guys that are in that situation, like, how can they take that first step to ultimately living a life that's filled with more purpose?
Oh, man. The word that came to mind was worthiness. If I know that we'll use this story, right? So if you have, all these toys for your daughter, if she knows that toy is for her, like, she's going to reach out of it, grab it with all of her intention, with all of her expectation, because she believes that toy is for her and that she is worthy of that toy. Whereas if you had all of these things in your house and your daughter didn't believe that they were for her, right? If every time she went to grab a toy, you told her no, or she got in trouble, she would no longer think that it was okay, that she was worth enough to have that. Otherwise, she wouldn't get yelled at. She wouldn't be disappointing dad, right? So I think the root, this is getting like way deep because you could come up with a lot of other reasons, but it's, if you can start being like, okay, what am I worth? And asking yourself that. Like, there's such thing as like righteous agitation. We'll call it, even go so far to say anger. To be like, man, I've been living a lie. I thought I was okay with this, this, and this. Right? The lie is that I'm now behind. But the reality is I'm exactly where I am because of every decision that I've made.
That's so good.
So now that I am seeing things differently, right? I'm seeing it like, okay, what am I worth? Like, your reality does not dictate your worth, right? It's a reflection of your actions, not a reflection of you. So when you start thinking that, like, oh, I'm actually worth more than what is currently reflected by my bank account, my status, by the choices I've made, the belief dictates the actions dictate the result.
100%.
So when the belief becomes, I am worth more than this, that will change the actions to be actions of someone who believes he's worth more than that. So, and it's so funny, like, it's step over step. So when you take 3 steps towards something and then you go back to the starting point, that doesn't negate the fact that you took 3 steps. Like, you can literally see the footprints. You know that they were taken. But the lie is that those 3 steps were never anything. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Right? So smoking cigarettes, right? A person that sees themselves vaping as worth more, they might say, like, man, like, that person doesn't vape. And they go 2 days without vaping, without belief. And then they start vaping again. They're trying to convince themselves that they never took 2 steps, that those 2 days didn't mean anything. They didn't happen. No. Those 2 steps, those 2 days only happened because you had that belief. How many times were you good at something the first time you tried it?
Never.
Right? So why is the first attempt to believe that you're worthy going to be invalidated by the fact that you weren't successful at it the very first time?
Yeah.
It's a practice. Like, worthiness, the belief of worthiness is a practice. Because if you give yourself evidence, if you meditate on evidence that dictates that you're unworthy, you will only continue to make choices that validate unworthiness. But if you can find evidence and meditate on your worth, so if you don't have a lot of actions, if you don't have a lot of dollars in your bank account. Not that any of that stuff actually makes you worthy, right? But like, if you can't find that, then you have to go somewhere to find that evidence, which is the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? It is God's word. When you read about what God says about you, right? If you read about what God says about the Israelites, which are no different than you or I today,
Yep.
right? You will realize that this love is so much greater than what we can comprehend.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it's, okay, I did this 2 days. I wouldn't have done this if I didn't believe that I didn't deserve it. So I'm going to believe I deserve it again. And I'm going to go try it again. Guess what that's going to turn into? It's not going to be 2 days. It's going to be 3 days. It's going to be 7 days. Mm-hmm. And then after you quit vaping, because you believe that, hey, like, if I'm worthy of putting good things into my body. Now, the next thing is now you're not drinking Coke, right? And it's literally like, after a year, you don't even recognize yourself.
Yep.
Because there are more actions that are dictated by a person that believes that they're worthy than there are dictated by someone who believes that they're unworthy. Mm-hmm. So this complacency that we talk about is dictated by blindness. It's dictated by distraction, right? A lot of people, if you ask them, hey, what did you spend your time doing this week? No one is going to know how much time they spent on their phone. But if you go on their phone and look at screen time, it's going to tell a very different story.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like when a year later, you look at the same person who's been telling themselves every day that they're worthy and been backing it up with evidence that they're worthy. Right? Even without the Bible, we'll take the Bible out of it. Right? We're just talking actions. That is, it's a symptom. It's not even the root, right? So if you go straight to the Bible, that's the hack. Just go right to the Bible and read what the Bible says about your worthiness and how God sees you, right? Like grace, mercy, all that stuff.
Well, it's by nothing that we've done, but by what Christ has done.
100%.
Like nothing we do is going to earn our keep, is going to earn our worthiness. But Christ has already given us the trump.
Well, he's defeated sin, death, and the grave.
Yeah.
So the common, like, I love juxtaposing psychology with Jesus.
Okay.
Because, psychology says that this is true because you're a perfectionist. Where, Jesus said that Jesus doesn't care about the past. Mm-hmm. Right? Jesus cares about your future.
Yep.
So when we opened up, we're like, how do you make decisions? Right? It's like psychology says, hey, you need to understand all these different options and the risk associated. And Jesus just says that, hey, if you do this thing that you know that you can do, you will have what you know that you can have. Right? If you follow me, like, you will have eternal life. There's nothing more to it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's so black and white when it comes to it. Dude, this has been a great conversation. Like, seriously, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm happy we were finally able to align calendars and make it work. But is there, like, if somebody wants to follow along with what you're doing, are you active on social media very much?
No,
or do you have?
We're not. Some of the best businesses are boring businesses.
Yeah.
I'm not active on social media. Probably about. Last time I was active on social media was probably like 2 years ago. So I was documented.
I love it.
Family
Only way to hear about what's going on with Diesel David is on the Take a Step podcast.
It's through you. It's literally through you.
Let's go. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. I know there's life-giving conversation in this podcast, and I know a lot of people will take that away. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. Always remember that no matter where you are on your growth journey, every mile begins with a step. We'll talk to you in the next episode.